think we all need something that gets us out of bed in the morning, something that drives us. We need a purpose. I don't know anybody that wakes up in the morning and says, I'm gonna go remove T-posts. This is a different kind of rewilding story. About 2 years ago, the Bayou Land Conservancy was given a piece of property which was a complete mess. Trash everywhere, invasive species, and there was about 1.5 miles of silt fencing crisscrossing 22 acres of the new preserve. Well, the trail crew got busy, established paths to remove all the trash, started taking out the invasive species, but the silt fencing remained because we'd removed some of that in the past and it was just brutal, back-breaking work, and there was so much of it.
But first I need to give you some background on how I got to this point where I got so excited about an additional T-post being removed. Joining the trail crew and getting to know all the people with so many different backgrounds from different walks of life has been a special time. All the while working together to generate and maintain unique natural spaces others could enjoy. Building bridges, boardwalks, and installing steps is fun and gives us all a great sense of accomplishment. But this group also enthusiastically dives into all types of activity, from trash collection, removal of invasive species, clearing the trails when a storm has blown through, and simple maintenance activity. This group has provided new friends, gave me an education on nature I didn't know I needed, and has made my retirement more rewarding than I could have ever imagined. These are amazing people who are the salt of the earth, always willing to help. Nature is all around us as we work. Occasionally, we have to stop working to enjoy one of nature's stunning, beautiful shows.
Yes, the silt fencing was an eyesore, but it started to haunt me for other reasons. I knew it was an impediment to wildlife moving around. Armadillos, snakes, turtles couldn't move past it. It was like the Great Wall of China to them. So I decided I was going to try to remove at least some of the silt fencing at T-posts. I mentioned to a couple people and they said, well, we'll help. And I don't think any of us thought we would get hardly any of it out, even a fraction of the total. But we worked on it for months and we removed 500 T-posts, 1.5 miles of silt fencing. The place looks amazing and we know that the wildlife is now able to roam freely in those additional 22 acres.
So what is silt fencing and how do you remove it? It's a low-level fence installed in an area where ground will be disturbed with the purpose to prevent sand and silt from eroding into the waterway, whether natural or man-made. So it's really critical to have leather gloves, safety glasses, long pants, long sleeves, because you will get scratched up not only by the fencing, but also the greenbrier that's in here hidden until you find it with your skin. This is what it originally looked like. Metal fencing, the tarping, and the T-posts that hold it up. When I retired, I struggled with defining a new purpose, but spent a lot of time outside walking around and thinking. So here's kind of where I left off. Tools you need: a shovel, clippers, knife for cutting the black tarp. And it's not easy. So the first thing to do is take the clippers and cut a path along the fencing. Here we go. At first, we tried to remove all 3 components of the fencing as we worked in one area. While some of the ground can be sandy, much of it is heavy clay, which when wet is sticky and won't let go of anything it touches, or when dry is as hard as concrete.
We tried a number of different pieces of equipment and techniques to remove the T-post, but couldn't generate enough leverage. It just seemed like an impossible task without using heavy equipment, so we focused on removing the metal fencing and tarping first. In some places, the fencing was still standing upright, but in others, it was lying down or buried. We learned rather quickly it is important to paint the top of the T-post so we could clearly see them. This prevented us from tripping over them. I don't know that my shins will ever be the same.
So once we've cleared a path, the next step is to remove the actual metal fencing.
I highly recommend having an up-to-date tetanus shot if you are going to be involved in this type of work.
I always wonder who lives in these holes that I go by. And I'm thankful they don't come out when I'm right next to them.
The next thing to try to do is to remove this black tarping, and this becomes difficult.
When the black tarping had been laying on the ground for a while, numerous roots were holding on to it. This added to the joy of digging, pulling, yanking out the black tarping.
Make sure I put the knife away before I do anything else. All right. I don't know how well you can see it, but this tree has the fence growing right through it. These are the type of things that slow you down. You should try to remove the trees or vines, sticks from the fencing. And I may just roll this one up with this in it because it's just not cooperating. Come on. Got it. There. So I'm going to roll a section of this up. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. So I tend to step on it, again, flattening it out.
To make it easier to carry out the silt fencing, we flatten the metal fencing into as small a ball as possible, and then spread out a section of the black tarping which we had removed and wrap the metal fencing in the black tarping. This made it easier to carry and helped prevent us from getting cut by the old rusty metal fencing.
Now that we have it rolled up, all we gotta do is carry out.
We established a trash pile where we stacked the trash and the silt fencing removed from the preserve. The 22 acres we removed the silt fencing was closest to the trash pile, but it took a long time to walk out each section of fencing we removed. We did use wheelbarrows when practical. After the small group removed the fencing, it was time to tackle the T-post. T-post removal ranged from ones we banged on a couple times and could remove easily by just pulling on with our hands, to the ones which we had to dig out, as even the farm jack could not pull them out. Even though you could hear the highway off in the distance, being among the trees in the morning was peaceful. We established a technique which involved hitting the T-post on all sides until it was loose enough to extract from the ground. We found a farm jack gave us the leverage needed to remove the T-post after we had loosened it by hitting it with a sledgehammer.
Five down.
Once all three components of the silt fencing had been removed, it was hard to tell it had ever been there in a very short period of time. As we started to stack the T-posts at the trash pile, it became evident how many had been removed. I am grateful for Jeff, Roy, Tom, and Diana for the help and the enthusiasm they brought to this work. You guys are awesome, and maybe a little crazy. The trail crew has filled 2 dumpsters of materials from the preserve, and before we are done, at least one more will be filled.
Don't misunderstand me. There's still a ton of work to do, but it is encouraging to see the progress that's been made in a relatively short period of time.
This experience sensitized me to T-posts. Now it seems I see them everywhere. And so the story continues in an attempt to improve the environment. Unfortunately, in many cases, the urban T-posts are associated with planting trees. In a number of cases, the companies planting the trees are using materials which, if not manually removed, will kill the tree after a number of years by strangulation. I find this extremely sad. I am searching for these helpless trees so I can help.
I would define my purpose now by saying I'm an advocate for wildlife and nature through photography, speaking engagements, or any other activity that supports the other creatures that call the earth home. If you started watching this channel because of the rewilding of my yard, the next couple episodes are taking us back to the garden. So whatever your passion is in life, I wish you great success. Continue to enjoy the wildlife around your home, and take care.